The alley smelled like wet cardboard and old oil, the kind of place the city forgot once the sun went down. Malik Turner pressed his palms against the brick wall, cheeks scraping grit as a knee drove into his lower back. Somewhere behind him a radio crackled. Static laughter, a voice that didn't sound worried at all. "Stop resisting," the officer said, calm as a weather report. Malik wasn't resisting. He was counting breaths. The night air burned his throat. His phone lay face down in a puddle, screen glowing with a half-typed text to his mom. "Running late. Be home soon." A baton kissed his ribs. "Not hard enough to break. Hard enough to teach." "You fit the description," another voice added, bored. "That's how this works." Malik tasted blood and copper. He saw his reflection in a broken bottle. 17, hoodie torn, eyes wide with the kind of fear that makes everything too loud. Sirens wailed somewhere far away, not for him. Never for him. A neighbor's window slid shut. Footsteps passed the mouth of the alley and kept going. The city exhaled and moved on. Then the first officer leaned in close, breath warm, words meant only for Malik. "No one's coming." That line cut deeper than the baton. The beating ended the way it started. Quietly. Hands released him. Boots stepped back. A cruiser door slammed. Red and blue lights washed the bricks once, twice, then vanished. Malik lay there shaking, staring at the phone as it vibrated. Unknown number. He answered with a whisper. "Hello." A man's voice replied, precise and urgent. "Malik Turner, this is Special Agent Harris with the FBI. Are you somewhere safe right now?" In the alley, a shadow detached itself from the dark and moved toward him. Malik stayed on the ground long after the lights disappeared, because standing felt like a lie his body wasn't ready to tell. The alley pressed cold through his hoodie. Brick grit stuck to his cheek. The world narrowed to the ache in his ribs and the thud of his pulse in his ears. "Safe," he tried to say into the phone. Came out thin. "I think." The voice on the other end didn't rush him. "Okay. Stay where you are. Help is on the way." Help. The word didn't land right. Malik rolled onto his side, breath hitching, and stared at the phone like it might explain itself. FBI meant television. Big cases. Not alleys and torn hoodies. He pushed himself up, hands trembling. His knee barked. His ribs answered. The alley smelled like rain and rust. Somewhere above, an air conditioner hummed, steady, uncaring. "Malik," the voice said. "Can you tell me if anyone's with you?" He looked. The shadow near the dumpster resolved into nothing, just trash and darkness. His heart slowed a notch. "No." "Good," the man said. "I need you to stay visible. Do not leave." Malik laughed once, a short, broken sound. Visible had gotten him here. He thought about his mom's kitchen, the way the light pooled on the table, the rules she repeated like a prayer. Keep your hands out, speak clearly, don't run. He'd done all of it. He'd said yes, sir. He'd said no, sir. He'd kept his voice even while his chest burned. None of it had mattered. A car passed the mouth of the alley, music thumping. No one looked in. Malik tried to stand again. The brick scraped his back. He swallowed and tasted blood. He wiped his mouth with his sleeve and saw the red smear, bright and real. His phone buzzed, a text from his mom. "You home?" He didn't answer. He didn't know how. Sirens rose in the distance, closer this time. Not the lazy wail from before, but tight and purposeful. Malik's shoulders tensed. He imagined the officers' faces, the easy confidence. The way one of them had sighed like Malik was an inconvenience. "You fit the description," the officer had said. As if that explained everything. The sirens grew louder. Blue light flickered at the alley's edge, then red. Malik flinched, backing toward the wall. His breath came fast. He wrapped his arms around himself, pressing pain against pain. Sedan rolled to a stop, not a cruiser. Doors opened. Footsteps approached, careful. A man in a dark jacket stepped into the light, badge clipped to his belt, eyes scanning. Malik Turner, he asked. Malik nodded because his voice wouldn't work. I'm Harris, the man said. FBI. Behind him, another agent lifted a camera, not pointing it yet, just ready. Third spoke quietly into a radio. Harris crouched to Malik's level, keeping space. I know you've had a night, he said. We'll get you medical care. But I need to ask you something first. Malik's hands shook harder. He stared at Harris's face, searching for the catch. Why me? Harris glanced at the phone on the ground, screen still glowing. Because you were in the wrong place, he said gently. And you recorded the right thing. Malik's stomach dropped. He remembered the moment before the baton. His thumb brushing the screen, the reflex he'd learned from watching too many videos he never wanted to be part of. I didn't. I know, Harris said. That's why we're here. An ambulance siren cut through the night. The alley filled with light and voices. Malik closed his eyes, the sounds washing over him, and felt something unfamiliar settle beside the fear. Not relief. Not yet. Attention. And somewhere beyond the brick and the rain, consequences were already moving. The hospital lights were too bright, too clean, like they were trying to erase what had happened before Malik arrived. Everything smelled sharp, disinfectant, plastic, something metallic that clung to the back of his throat. He sat on the edge of the bed with a thin paper gown pulled around him, feet dangling, shoulders hunched forward as if he could still make himself smaller. A nurse pressed a blood pressure cuff around his arm. She smiled, practiced and quick. This might squeeze a bit. It's fine, Malik said automatically. The cuff tightened. Numbers blinked. She frowned, then loosened it. That's high, she said, not accusing, just factual. Any pain? He almost laughed. No, he said, because that's what he always said. Then he swallowed. Yes, my ribs, my back, my knee. She nodded and typed. Fingers fast. Eyes already drifting to the next task. Any loss of consciousness? No. Head injury. He hesitated. The baton, the wall, the way the alley had spun for a second. I don't think so. Okay, she said, already moving on. Doctor will be in shortly. She pulled the curtain halfway closed. Not all the way. Malik watched her leave, the sound of her shoes squeaking down the hallway. The room hummed. Machines beeped somewhere behind the wall. A TV murmured in another bay. Late-night news, a smiling anchor, the city safe and orderly on screen. The door opened again. 2 police officers stepped in. Malik's stomach dropped. They weren't the same ones from the alley. Different faces. Same uniforms. One was older, gray at the temples, badge polished. The other stayed near the door, arms crossed. Malik Turner? The older one asked. Malik nodded. His hands curled into fists in his lap. I'm Officer Reynolds, the man said. We're here to take your statement. Malik glanced at the curtain. It still wasn't closed. Can my mom be here? Reynolds' smile tightened. We just need a few minutes. I want my mom, Malik said, voice steadier than he felt. Reynolds' eyes flicked to the other officer, then back. She's on her way, he said. This'll be quick. Malik stared at him. He remembered Harris's voice in the alley. Stay visible. Do not leave. He remembered the word recorded. I don't want to talk without her, Malik said. The younger officer shifted, irritation flashing across his face. Reynolds sighed, like Malik was making this harder than it needed to be. All right, he said. We'll wait. They didn't leave. They stood there, filling the small space with authority and silence. Minutes stretched. Malik's knee throbbed. His ribs burned with every breath. He watched the TV reflection in the glass cabinet. News footage of a ribbon cutting downtown, a councilman smiling. The door burst open. Where is he? His mom's voice cut through the room like a blade. Denise Turner stood in the doorway, purse clutched to her chest, eyes wild and sharp all at once. She took Malik in, the bruises blooming dark along his jaw, the way he was hunched over, and her face hardened into something dangerous. "I'm his mother," she said. "Who are you?" Reynolds straightened. "Ma'am." "You don't get to ma'am me," Denise snapped. "You don't get to stand over my child like that. Step back." The younger officer scoffed. Denise rounded on him. "I said step back." Reynolds lifted his hands. "We're just here to take a statement." "You'll take it with a lawyer present," Denise said. "Or not at all." Reynolds' jaw tightened. "This is standard procedure." "So is calling a parent," Denise said. "Which you didn't do." She moved to Malik's side, cupping his face gently despite the bruises. Her hands trembled. "Baby," she whispered. "Look at me. Are you okay?" Malik shook his head. The tears came then, hot and sudden, and he hated them even as they spilled over. "I did everything right," he said. "I did everything you said." "I know," she said fiercely. "I know." A doctor entered, breaking the moment. She was middle-aged, hair pulled back, eyes tired but kind. She took in the scene quickly. "What's going on?" "I need privacy for my patient," Denise said before anyone else could speak. The doctor nodded. "She's right," she said to the officers. "You can wait outside." Reynolds hesitated, then forced a smile. "We'll be right outside," he said, like a promise and a warning. The door closed behind them. Denise sagged into the chair, gripping Malik's hand. "They put hands on you," she said, not asking. "Yes," Malik said. "They said I fit the description." "Of what?" she snapped. "Existing." The doctor cleared her throat softly. "I'm going to examine you," she said to Malik. "I'll need you to tell me exactly where it hurts." As the exam went on, Malik named pain like landmarks here, there. The doctor's face grew more serious with each mark. She ordered X-rays. CT just to be safe. "And I'm documenting everything," she added quietly, meeting Denise's eyes. "Everything." Denise nodded, jaw clenched. "Thank you." In the hallway, Malik could hear voices. Reynolds, low and controlled. Another voice, sharper. Then a third, calm, precise. "Harris." Denise noticed it too. She leaned toward the door, listening. The door opened. Harris stepped in alone, badge visible, hands open. "Miss Turner," he said. "I'm Special Agent Harris. May I speak with you both?" Reynolds appeared behind him, face tight. "This is an ongoing local matter," he said. Harris didn't look at him. "Federal jurisdiction applies," he said evenly. The room went quiet. Denise stood. "You called my son," she said. "You scared him half to death. You better start explaining." Harris nodded. "I will. But first, I need to make something clear." He looked at Malik. "You're not in trouble. You didn't do anything wrong." Malik let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Harris continued. "We're investigating a pattern of misconduct tied to multiple officers in this precinct. What happened to you tonight?" He paused, choosing his words. "Is part of that pattern." Reynolds scoffed from the doorway. "With all due respect." Harris turned then, eyes cold. "Respect is earned," he said. "And right now you're interrupting." Reynolds flushed. He said nothing. Harris looked back at Denise. "Your son may have captured evidence relevant to our investigation. We want to ensure his safety." "His safety?" Denise repeated. "You mean after he was beaten?" "Yes," Harris said. "Including now." The doctor returned, holding a chart. "2 cracked ribs," she said. "Severe bruising. No internal bleeding, thankfully." Denise closed her eyes for a moment, pressing her lips together. Reynolds shifted. "We'll need that report." The doctor's eyes hardened. "You'll get it through proper channels." Harris stepped closer to Malik. "I won't lie to you," he said quietly. "This won't be easy. People will question you. Some will try to discredit you." Denise squeezed Malik's hand. "He's not alone," she said. Harris nodded. "No," he agreed. "He isn't." Outside the room, the hospital kept moving. stretchers rolling, phones ringing, lives intersecting and passing by. Inside, Malik sat with bruises mapped and documented. His pain translated into charts and scans. For the first time since the alley, someone was writing it down the way it happened. And somewhere down the hall, Officer Reynolds spoke into his radio, voice tight, as the weight of paperwork began to shift. From a routine report to something heavier, something that wouldn't stay buried. By morning, the city had decided what Malik's night meant. He learned that from the TV before he even got out of bed. Denise stood in the doorway with a mug of coffee she hadn't touched, arms folded tight across her chest. Malik lay propped against pillows on the couch, ribs wrapped, knees stiff and swollen. Every breath still reminded him of the alley, but the sound coming from the screen hurt in a different way. An alleged altercation late last night, the anchor said smoothly. Police report the teen matched the description of a suspect fleeing the scene. Alleged. Malik's jaw tightened. I wasn't fleeing, he muttered. Denise grabbed the remote and muted the TV. Of course you weren't, she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were burning. They always start there. Malik stared at the frozen image of the anchor. Perfect hair, sympathetic tilt of the head. The city liked its stories clean. Simple. Good guys on one side, trouble on the other. And Malik already knew which side they'd chosen for him. His phone buzzed on the coffee table. Notifications stacked like bricks. Messages from friends, classmates, people he barely knew. You okay, bro? Saw the news. That's messed up. What did you do? He turned the phone face down. A knock sounded at the door. Denise stiffened. You expecting anyone? Malik shook his head. She moved to the door, peering through the peephole. Press, she muttered, then louder. We're not giving statements. A woman's voice floated through the wood. Ms. Turner, just a quick comment. No, Denise snapped. My son is injured. Leave. Footsteps shuffled away. Cameras clicked anyway. Malik closed his eyes. He could feel the city outside their apartment, hungry and loud. He felt smaller than he had in the alley. At noon his phone rang again. This time he answered because the number was saved. Harris, Malik said. Good afternoon, Harris replied. His voice was the same, calm, precise. How are you holding up? Malik hesitated. They're saying I was a suspect. Yes, Harris said. That's the narrative they're trying. Tried, Denise said loudly enough to be heard. Harris paused. I'd like to meet today, he said. Somewhere quiet. I need to prepare you for what's coming. Malik looked at Denise. She nodded once. Okay, Malik said. Where? They met in a federal building that smelled like carpet cleaner and coffee. No flashing lights. No uniforms. Just glass and metal and people walking with purpose. Harris led them into a small conference room. Another agent waited inside. A woman with sharp eyes and a tablet balanced on her knee. This is Agent Collins, Harris said. She nodded. Malik. They didn't ask him to repeat the beating. Not yet. Harris slid a folder across the table instead. Before we talk about you, he said, we need to talk about them. Inside the folder were names. Complaints. Suspensions that went nowhere. Words like excessive force and internal review printed in neat columns. Malik's stomach churned. These are the officers involved last night, Harris said. And others connected to them. Denise flipped through the pages, her face hardening with every line. They knew, she said. The department knew. Yes, Collins said quietly. And it kept happening. Malik stared at the paper until the words blurred. The alley wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. And the video? Malik asked. Harris met his eyes. You recorded more than you realized. Malik swallowed. I didn't even know I hit record. Sometimes muscle memory saves lives, Collins said. Harris tapped the folder. Your footage places those officers at multiple incidents we're already investigating. It corroborates timelines. Behavior. Malik leaned back, ribs protesting. So what happens now? Now, Harris said, the pressure increases. He explained it like a weather forecast. The department would close ranks. The union would speak. Officials would issue statements full of words like review and policy. Online, people would dissect Malik's life for flaws. They'll look for anything, Collins added. Grades, friends, social media. They'll ask why you were there. Why you were out late. I was walking home, Malik said. From my shift. I know, Harris said. They won't care. Denise slammed the folder shut. You're asking my son to stand in front of a system that already broke him. Harris nodded. I'm asking him to tell the truth. Silence settled over the room. Malik looked at his hands. The bruises were yellowing now, blooming ugly under his skin. He thought about the line in the alley. No one's coming. They came, he said softly. Eventually. Harris didn't argue. Eventually isn't justice, he said. But it's a start. That afternoon the city got louder. A press conference streamed live on Malik's phone. The police chief stood at a podium, flags behind him, voice solemn. We take all allegations seriously, the chief said. Our officers acted within protocol based on the information available at the time. Protocol. Comments scrolled beneath the video. If you don't want trouble, don't look suspicious. Why was he recording? My cousin's a cop. This doesn't happen for no reason. Malik turned the phone off. At school, his name moved through hallways without him. Teachers sent emails full of concern and caution. One counselor suggested keeping a low profile. Low profile had almost gotten him killed. That evening, Denise found him staring out the window. You don't have to do this, she said softly. Yes, Malik said. I do. She studied him. The set of his jaw, the way fear and resolve tangled in his eyes. Why? He thought about the file. Names. The next kid in the alley. Because if I don't, he said, they'll do it again. And next time no one might call. Outside sirens wailed, then faded. Across the city, officers filed reports, careful with language. Union reps drafted statements. Commentators chose sides. And in a quiet apartment, a 17-year-old boy sat with the weight of a truth the city didn't want to hear, knowing that once spoken, it would change everything. For better or worse, the story was already moving. And it wasn't waiting for permission. The second meeting happened after dark, because quiet was harder to find during the day. Harris insisted on a different building this time. Older, federal, the kind with thick walls and narrow windows that didn't invite attention. Malik noticed everything now. The way cars idled too long at corners. The way his phone felt heavier in his pocket, like it carried consequences instead of apps. Denise sat beside him in the waiting area, her knee bouncing despite her calm face. You eat? She asked. A little, Malik said. 'Twas a lie. Food still tasted like metal. Harris appeared and waved them through a secure door. We'll keep this brief, he said. But there are things you need to see. Inside the conference room, the lights were dimmer. A large monitor glowed at the far end. Agent Collins stood with a remote in her hand, posture straight. We reconstructed timelines, she said. Your video was the missing piece. She pressed a button. Footage filled the screen. Shaky at first. Malik's breath loud in the mic, the scrape of shoes, the edge of the alley. Then voices. Clearer than Malik remembered. Officers joking. One of them complaining about paperwork. Another laughing. Bet this one runs, a voice said. Malik's stomach clenched. Denise inhaled sharply. The video jumped forward. Commands. The first shove. The baton swing. Collins paused it. This isn't just about you, she said. This places these officers at 3 prior incidents under review. Different neighborhoods. Same behavior. Harris stepped closer to Malik. You weren't targeted because you did something wrong, he said. You were targeted because you were available. Malik looked away from the screen. The room felt too small. So what do you need from me? Harris exchanged a glance with Collins. We need you to be a witness. Denise stiffened. A witness, she repeated. You mean a target? Harris didn't deny it. We'll provide protection, he said. But there will be pressure. Malik let out a slow breath. Pressure like what? Collins clicked to another slide. A map appeared, dotted with pins. Complaints spike and vanish, she said. Cases closed without explanation. Evidence lost. Or buried, Denise said. Yes, Collins agreed. And when we move forward, the pushback won't be subtle. Harris leaned on the table. They'll try to intimidate you, discredit you, make you doubt yourself. Malik's hands curled into fists. They already did. That's different, Harris said. This time they'll do it in daylight. They went over logistics, court dates that hadn't been set yet, interviews that would come, the possibility of a grand jury. Words that sounded adult and distant landed heavy in Malik's chest. What if I say no? Malik asked quietly. Harris met his eyes. Then the case weakens, he said honestly. It might not die, but it won't be as strong. Denise reached for Malik's hand. He's 17, she said. He's already paid. I know, Harris said. And I won't pretend this is fair. Malik thought of the alley again. Not the pain, but the certainty in the officer's voice. No one's coming. I'll do it, Malik said. Denise turned to him. Malik. I'll do it, he repeated. His voice shook, but it didn't break. I won't let them pretend this didn't happen. Harris nodded once. Then we move. The city responded fast. The next morning, Malik's name trended locally. Not because of the truth, because of speculation. Sources say teen has prior run-ins. Unconfirmed reports raise questions. Police union demands due process. Denise read headlines with a clenched jaw. They're fishing, she said. They don't have anything. They don't need anything, Malik said. They just need doubt. School, a teacher pulled him aside. Maybe keep your head down, she suggested gently. For your own good. Malik smiled without humor. I did, he said. It didn't help. That afternoon, a car idled across the street from their building for nearly an hour. When Denise stepped outside to confront it, it drove away. Harris called that night. Any contact? Nothing direct, Denise said. Good, Harris replied. Document everything anyway. Sleep didn't come easy. When it did, Malik dreamed of hallways with no doors, voices echoing without faces. 2 days later, Collins arrived at their apartment with a laptop and a small black case. We're going to extract the original file, she said. Chain of custody matters. She handled Malik's phone like evidence. Gloved, careful. Watching it made Malik's chest tighten. That little rectangle had changed everything. As data transferred, Collins spoke quietly. Do you know why this is so important? Malik shook his head. Because it contradicts their story in ways they can't explain away, she said. Timing. Language. Intent. The transfer completed. Collins closed the case. It's secure. That evening, the police department released a statement. Officers placed on administrative leave pending review. Administrative leave. Denise scoffed. Paid vacation. For now, Harris said over speakerphone. But it means the ground is shifting. The shift came with consequences. Malik's friend Jamal stopped texting. A girl he'd liked for months avoided his eyes in the hallway. Whispers followed him, some supportive, some sharp. You think you're a hero now, someone muttered as he passed. Malik kept walking. At night, Denise sat at the table, bills spread out, the weight of missed work heavy between them. This shouldn't cost us this much, she said. I know, Malik replied. But it was costing them anyway, time, sleep, peace. One evening, Harris stopped by in person. He didn't stay long. They're asking for the footage, he said. Officially. Denise crossed her arms. And they won't get it from you, Harris said. They'll get it from us. Malik felt something like relief. Short-lived. Harris hesitated at the door. I need you to understand something, he said to Malik. Once this goes public, there's no taking it back. Malik nodded. They didn't give me that choice. Outside, the city moved, unaware or pretending to be. Somewhere lawyers prepared defenses. Somewhere else, a union meeting grew heated. And in a small apartment, a teenager sat with the knowledge that his file, was about to expose a system that relied on silence. The story they didn't expect was already written. Now it just needed to be read. Silence didn't arrive all at once. Seeped in. Malik noticed it first in the way people paused when he entered a room, just a beat too long, like they were recalibrating. At school, lockers slammed a little louder down the hall, laughter dipped, then resumed once he passed. His name floated behind him, never landing where he could grab it. In English class, Ms. Patterson cleared her throat before speaking. "We're discussing narrative perspective today," she said, eyes skimming over Malik as if he were fragile glass. "How stories are told. Who gets believed?" A few students glanced at him. One boy smirked. Malik stared at his desk. "Anyone want to share an example?" Ms. Patterson asked. Silence. Malik raised his hand before he could stop himself. "It matters who's holding the microphone," he said. His voice sounded steady, distant. "And who's already decided what they want to hear." The room stayed quiet. Ms. Patterson nodded slowly. "That's insightful," she said. After class, she stopped him near the door. "You're brave," she said softly. Malik shrugged. "I don't feel like it." She hesitated. "If you need extensions." "I don't," Malik said, more sharply than he meant to. He walked away before she could answer. At lunch, Jamal's seat stayed empty. Malik checked his phone. No new messages. He found Jamal after school, leaning against the fence by the basketball court, earbuds in. Malik waited until Jamal noticed him. "You good?" Malik asked. Jamal pulled out one earbud. "Yeah. You been busy," Malik said. Jamal shifted. "Look, man. My mom says I should stay out of it." "Out of what?" Malik asked. Jamal sighed. "You know. All this." Malik stared at him. "I got beat," he said quietly. "I know," Jamal said. "I'm just saying, people are watching." Malik nodded once. They were watching in the alley too. Jamal didn't have an answer for that. He put his earbud back in. The sound of silence followed Malik home. Denise noticed it too. The neighbor who used to wave now nodded without smiling. A woman in the elevator clutched her purse a little tighter. "People think silence keeps them safe," Denise said one night as they ate dinner. "It doesn't. It just keeps things the same." Malik pushed food around his plate. "What if I'm making it worse?" Denise looked up sharply. "Worse for who?" "For you," Malik said. "For us." She reached across the table, taking his hand. "You didn't choose this," she said. "They did." Online, the noise never stopped. Clips of Malik's face circulated. School photos pulled from yearbooks, cropped and captioned. Comment sections filled with arguments he didn't read anymore. Why didn't he comply? Where's the full video? Let the system work. The system. Harris called every other day. "Any threats?" "Not direct," Denise said. "That's still information," Harris replied. One afternoon, Malik found a note tucked under their door. "Snitches get stitches." His chest tightened. Denise read it twice, then folded it carefully and placed it in a drawer. "We document," she said, voice calm but eyes sharp. "Everything." That night, Malik couldn't sleep. The apartment felt too quiet, every creak amplified. He lay staring at the ceiling, ribs aching, heart racing. He thought about the officer's laughter in the video. How normal it had sounded. How practiced. 2 a.m, he got up and went to the kitchen. Denise was already there, sitting at the table in the dark. "You too?" he asked. She nodded. "Silence is loud tonight." They sat together, not talking, the refrigerator humming like a heartbeat. The next day, Harris brought news. "The department requested a meeting," he said. "With their attorneys present." Denise scoffed. To do what? To assess, Harris said. And to intimidate. Malik swallowed. Do I have to go? No, Harris said. But they want you to feel like you should. Malik looked at the window at the street below. I'm tired of feeling small. Harris paused. That's their goal. At school, a boy Malik barely knew cornered him near the stairs. You think you're special now, he sneered. Getting the feds involved. Malik met his gaze. I think I want to go home alive, he said. The boy laughed nervously and walked away. Later that week, a local pastor reached out. He invited Malik to speak at a community meeting. People need to hear from you, he said. Malik hesitated. They already decided. Some have, the pastor said. Others haven't. The meeting was held in a church basement that smelled like coffee and old wood. Folding chairs filled quickly. Malik stood at the front, palms sweating, Denise at his side. When he spoke, his voice shook at first. He talked about the alley, about the words used, about the silence after. A woman in the back wiped her eyes. A man nodded slowly. But others sat with arms crossed, faces hard. Afterward, a man approached Malik. I support the police, he said. But I'm sorry that happened to you. Malik nodded. It wasn't enough. It was something. Outside, a camera crew waited. Denise stepped between them and Malik. No questions, she said. On the ride home, Malik stared out the window, exhaustion settling deep in his bones. This is what it costs, he said quietly. Yes, Denise replied. And this is what it changes. That night, Harris called with urgency in his voice. We're close, he said. Very close. Close to what? Malik asked. Breaking the silence, Harris said. Malik lay back on his bed, staring at the ceiling. The quiet pressed in, heavy and electric, like the moment before a storm. Silence had a sound now, and it was starting to crack. The first thing the department did was control the room. They chose a conference space without windows, long table polished to a shine, flags placed just right. Coffee was poured. Phones were silenced. Everyone knew where to sit. The officers on administrative leave arrived in plain clothes, their uniforms replaced by pressed shirts and tight jaws. Their attorney took the center seat, leather portfolio open like a shield. Let's keep this professional, the attorney said, voice smooth. Facts only. Across the table, Internal Affairs nodded. A union representative leaned back, arms crossed, already bored. Officer Danvers cleared his throat. He was the one with the baton. He matched the description, Danvers said. We approached. He became agitated. Agitated how? The IA investigator asked. Non-compliant, Danvers replied. Hands moving. Raised voice. The attorney scribbled. Officer safety concern, he murmured, as if translating. Officer Keller, the one who'd laughed, shifted in his seat. We followed protocol. Which protocol? The investigator pressed. Keller hesitated. Danvers answered for him. Escalation of force. We gave commands. Body cam? The investigator asked. The room tightened. Malfunctioned, the attorney said quickly. Battery issue. The investigator wrote it down anyway. Across the city, Harris watched a mirrored feed, arms folded, jaw set. Collins sat beside him, scrolling through transcripts. They're sticking to it, Collins said. Of course they are, Harris replied. They practiced. Back at the table, the union rep spoke up. We're seeing a troubling trend, he said. Second-guessing officers who make split-second decisions. The IA investigator nodded slowly. And we're seeing a troubling pattern of complaints, she replied. Against these same officers. Danvers bristled. Complaints aren't convictions. No, she said. But patterns aren't accidents. The attorney smiled thinly. My clients have exemplary records. Your clients have records, the investigator corrected. Silence followed. The room hummed with fluorescent light. Meanwhile, the city heard a different version. Press release dropped at noon. Officers acted in accordance with training. Encounter escalated due to subject behavior. Investigation ongoing. Local radio hosts debated it like sports. You gotta trust the cops, one said. They risk their lives. Another countered. Trust doesn't mean blind faith. Callers weighed in. Why was the kid out so late? Why was he recording? Why are the feds involved? Questions stacked like bricks, heavy and convenient. At Malik's school, the principal called Denise. We're concerned about disruptions, the principal said carefully. For Malik's safety. Denise closed her eyes. You mean optics? We want to support him, the principal replied. Perhaps remote learning for a while. He didn't do anything wrong, Denise said. I understand, the principal said. But tensions are high. Denise hung up without agreeing to anything. That afternoon, Harris sat with Malik and Denise in a small office downtown. He spread documents across the desk. Timelines, statements, side-by-side comparisons. This is their version, Harris said. And this is yours. Malik studied the words. Agitated. Non-compliant. Escalation. They make it sound like I was a problem to solve, Malik said. That's the point, Harris replied. Language does the work before the law does. Denise leaned forward. What about the laughter, she asked. What about the jokes? Harris nodded. Harder to explain away, he said. Which is why they'll try to discredit the source. Me, Malik said. Yes, Harris said gently. That night, an anonymous account posted screenshots. Old tweets Malik had liked, a photo from a party 2 years ago. Nothing illegal. Nothing violent. Enough to muddy. Is this who we're supposed to believe? A caption read. Malik stared at the screen. Heat rising in his chest. They're digging, he said. They always do, Denise replied. When they can't bury the truth, they bury the person. Harris called minutes later. We anticipated this, he said. Don't engage. It's everywhere, Malik said. They're turning me into a story. You already are, Harris replied. The question is which one sticks. Across town, the officers met with their union lawyer again. They're overreaching, the lawyer said. Federal pressure. Media circus. We hold the line. Danvers rubbed his temples. What if the video? There is no video, the lawyer snapped. There is alleged footage. And there are questions about how it was obtained. Keller swallowed. It was on his phone. Which we will argue was manipulated, the lawyer said. Or incomplete. Or taken out of context. Danvers looked unconvinced. It doesn't look good. Perception is malleable, the lawyer replied. Trust me. Outside the building, protesters gathered. Not many yet. Dozen signs. Justice for Malik. Accountability now. Police cruisers idled nearby. Inside Malik's apartment, Denise taped a copy of the note. Snitches get stitches into a folder. She added screenshots, dates, times. Paper trails matter, she said. Malik nodded, exhaustion pulling at him. What if they win? Denise met his eyes. Then we keep telling the truth. The next morning, a leaked memo surfaced. Internal Affairs had recommended disciplinary action months earlier, before Malik's beating. Had been ignored. The headline spread fast. Warnings went unheeded. The police chief cancelled a public appearance. Harris smiled grimly when he saw it. That, he said to Collins, changes the math. In the department, tempers flared. Officers argued in hallways. Some defended Danvers and Keller. Others stayed quiet, eyes down. Silence again, but this time strained. At a hastily arranged press conference, the chief spoke carefully. We are cooperating fully, he said. We welcome transparency. Reporters shouted questions. Why were prior complaints dismissed? Why did body cams fail? What about the federal investigation? The chief adjusted his tie. I can't comment on ongoing matters. Malik watched from home, ribs aching, heart racing. "They're scared," he said. "Yes," Denise replied. "And scared systems make mistakes." That evening, Harris arrived with urgency written on his face. "We've scheduled depositions," he said. "Sooner than expected." Malik swallowed. "Me too." "Yes," Harris said. "But we'll prepare." He paused at the door. "One more thing," he added. "Someone inside the department reached out." "A whistleblower?" Denise asked. "Maybe," Harris said. "Or someone trying to save themselves." Malik leaned back against the wall, the weight of it pressing in. The officers had their version. Polished, protected, rehearsed. But it was starting to crack. Under language, under paper, under the simple, stubborn fact that someone had pressed record and refused to disappear. Outside, sirens wailed, not rushing past this time but circling. The room was no longer under their control. The knock came before sunrise, sharp and unmistakable, the kind that didn't ask permission. Malik sat upright in bed, heart hammering, the sound cutting through the half-sleep haze. For a split second, the alley rushed back. Boots, brick, breath. Then Denise was already in the hallway, robe pulled tight, moving with purpose. "I've got it," she said. Through the peephole, she saw dark jackets, badges catching the light. She opened the door without hesitation. "Federal agents," Harris said, stepping inside. "Warrants are signed." Behind him, 4 others moved in coordinated silence, radios clipped, folders tucked under arms. No raised voices, no posturing, just inevitability. Malik stood at the end of the hall, ribs aching as he breathed. "What's happening?" "Accountability," Harris said. "It starts today." They rode down in an unmarked van, the city still rubbing sleep from its eyes. Street lights blinked yellow. A bakery opened its doors. Somewhere, a morning jogger stretched, unaware that the ground beneath the city's story was shifting. At the precinct, federal vehicles lined the curb. Local officers gathered in clusters, whispers sharp as glass. Some watched the agents pass with tight smiles. Others stared at the pavement. Harris moved with Malik through the doors, hand briefly lifting in a calming gesture when Malik hesitated. "You don't have to go inside," Harris said. "I want to," Malik replied. Inside, the air felt different, thicker. Conversations stopped. A lieutenant's voice rose, then fell. A union rep argued with a man in a suit who didn't budge. Danvers emerged from an office, face pale, eyes darting. He spotted Malik and froze. For a moment no one spoke. Then Harris's voice cut cleanly through the space. "Officer Danvers," he said. "You're being served." Danvers' mouth opened, closed. "This is harassment," he snapped, finding his anger like a familiar jacket. "We did our jobs." Harris didn't flinch. "You'll have the opportunity to say that under oath." Keller appeared behind Danvers, jaw clenched. "This is a witch hunt." "Witch hunts don't require warrants," Collins said, stepping forward. "Evidence does." Folders were handed over. Phones collected. Desks searched. Body cams logged. The routine of authority turned inward, precise and cold. Malik stood off to the side, hands trembling, watching the machinery he'd always seen from the wrong end finally face itself. He didn't feel victorious. He felt hollow. Outside, cameras gathered like birds. "Is this about the teenager?" a reporter shouted. "Do you regret your actions?" Another yelled, voice sharp with anticipation. Danvers ducked his head as agents guided him past. Keller stared straight ahead, jaw locked, refusing to look. The city woke up fast after that. News alerts buzzed phones. Federal warrants executed at local precinct. Officers named in civil rights probe. Body cam footage under review. At school, Malik's name stopped being whispered and started being said out loud. "That's him," someone murmured. Not accusation this time. Recognition. Ms. Patterson caught Malik in the hallway. "I'm proud of you," she said, voice low. He nodded, unsure what to do with pride that felt so heavy. That afternoon, Harris sat with Malik in a federal office, a recorder on the table between them. "This is a deposition," he said. "You can stop at any time." Malik nodded. Denise sat close, hand resting on his knee. Harris clicked the recorder on. "For the record, please state your name." "Malik Turner," Malik said. "Age?" 17. "Tell us what happened." Malik took a breath. He spoke slowly, deliberately, naming details the way the doctor had named bruises. The alley. The words. Laughter. The baton. Phone. Harris listened without interrupting. Collins took notes, eyes steady. "Did you resist?" Harris asked gently. "No," Malik said. "I tried to breathe." When it was over, Malik's throat burned. He leaned back, exhaustion flooding him. "You did well," Harris said. "I just told the truth," Malik replied. Outside, the officer's version unraveled. The body cam malfunction was dissected. Backup footage surfaced. Dispatch logs contradicted reports. A prior IA memo, leaked again, showed warnings ignored, complaints minimized. The union held a press conference. The representative spoke of process and presumption. His words careful but strained. Questions pressed harder this time. Why were these officers allowed to remain on patrol? Who overruled internal affairs? Is this department protecting misconduct? The representative deflected. The crowd didn't thin. That evening, a protest formed downtown, larger than before. Signs lifted. Names chanted. Malik watched from the couch, Denise beside him. "Do you want to go?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not yet." A message buzzed on his phone. "Jamal. I'm sorry," it read. "I should have said something." Malik stared at it, then typed back. "You just did." The next day, indictments were announced. Harris delivered the news in person. "Civil rights violations," he said. "Obstruction. False reporting." Denise closed her eyes, exhaling. Malik felt his chest tighten, not with triumph, but with the finality of it. "They're charged," Malik said. But the system remains," Harris finished. "Yes." Danvers and Keller were arraigned without uniforms. Faces tight, lawyers close. The courtroom buzzed. Malik sat behind the railing, heart pounding as names were read, charges listed. Danvers glanced back once. His eyes met Malik's for a fraction of a second, anger flickering, then fear. The judge's gavel fell. Outside, the city argued. Some called it justice. Others called it overreach. The familiar lines were drawn. At home, Denise sorted mail with trembling hands. "I didn't think we'd get this far," she said. Malik leaned against the counter. Neither did they. That night, Harris called one last time. "I won't pretend this is the end," he said. "Trials take time. Outcomes are uncertain." "I know," Malik replied. "But," Harris added, "they can't say nothing happened. Not anymore." Malik lay awake later, listening to the city settle. Sirens passed, then faded. The silence that followed felt different. Not empty, but waiting. For the first time since the alley, Malik felt something loosen in his chest. Not peace. Not yet. But possibility. The feds had knocked. And the door had opened. Consequences arrived in waves, not all at once, and they didn't move in straight lines. The first wave hit the officers. Danvers was suspended without pay pending trial, a phrase that sounded clinical until Malik saw the photo. Danvers leaving court in a wrinkled jacket, face drawn, lawyer whispering in his ear. Keller followed a day later. Then two more names Malik recognized only from paperwork and Harris's careful explanations. The department held another press conference. This one was different. The police chief didn't smile. His voice lacked its old certainty. "We acknowledge failures," he said. "We are reviewing policies." Reviewing. Malik watched from the couch, ribs still sore. Knee wrapped again after it flared up walking home from school. Denise sat beside him, arms crossed, eyes sharp. They always find a word that means nothing, she said. But things were happening. Slowly. Unevenly. Still happening. The second wave hit the department. Internal affairs reopened cases. Old ones, dusty ones. Officers were reassigned. A deputy chief announced early retirement. Rumors swirled of emails deleted. Meetings held behind closed doors. A memo leaked late one night. Policy changes effective immediately. Mandatory body cam audits. Independent oversight. Civilian review board with actual authority. Malik read it twice. This came from us, he said, disbelief threading his voice. It came from pressure, Denise corrected. Pressure you helped create. School, the tone shifted again. The principal called Malik into the office. Hands folded neatly on the desk. We want to make sure you feel supported, he said. Malik nodded. I wanted that before. The principal flushed. We're offering counseling services. Accommodations. Malik thought about the counselor's suggestion to keep a low profile. I'll think about it, he said. In the hallway afterward, a girl he barely knew stopped him. Hey, she said awkwardly. That took courage. Thanks, Malik replied. Courage still felt like a word people used when they didn't know what else to say. The third wave hit Malik himself. It came in the quiet moments, when his knee locked up on the stairs, when a siren made his chest tighten, when laughter sounded too close to the officer's jokes in the video. One night, he woke up gasping, hands clawing at the sheets. Denise was there in seconds, holding him until the shaking stopped. I'm sorry, Malik whispered. She pulled back enough to look at him. For what? For surviving, he said. She kissed his forehead. Never apologize for that. Harris checked in weekly now, less urgent, more careful. The trial schedule is set, he said during one call. Months out. Malik nodded, phone pressed to his ear. I can wait. You shouldn't have to, Harris replied. But yes, we wait. Outside the courtroom, protesters returned. Some familiar, some new. Signs multiplied. So did counter-protesters. Blue Lives Matter, one sign read. Malik watched the coverage without sound. Denise muted it. You don't need to see that, she said. I do, Malik replied. This is what it looks like. The officers' families spoke out too. Danvers' wife gave an interview, eyes red. He's a good man, she said. This has destroyed our family. Malik felt something twist in his chest. Not sympathy exactly, but recognition. Systems didn't just crush the people beneath them. They damaged everyone tangled inside. At the trial, Malik testified again. The courtroom was colder than he expected. He took the stand, swore the oath, and told the story the same way he always had. The defense attorney tried to rattle him. You didn't comply immediately, did you? The attorney asked. I was scared, Malik replied. So you admit you were agitated? Malik met the attorney's eyes. Being scared isn't a crime. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. The judge rapped the gavel. Order. Malik stepped down with legs that felt like rubber. Denise squeezed his hand. You were strong, she said. I was honest, Malik replied. That's different. The verdicts came one by one, spread over weeks. Guilty on civil rights violations. Guilty on false reporting. Not guilty on one count that made Malik's stomach drop. Then settle again when Harris explained appeals and partial accountability. Justice isn't clean, Harris said. It's negotiated. Sentencing followed. Prison time for some. Probation for others. Loss of badge for all. When Danvers was led away, Malik didn't feel triumph. He felt tired. The fourth wave hit the city. Funding shifted. Training programs expanded. A civilian oversight board held its first meeting, tense and crowded. People spoke who had never spoken before. I filed a complaint 10 years ago, a woman said at the microphone. No one called me back. This time someone did. Home life kept going. Bills still arrived. Denise picked up extra shifts. Malik returned to his job, careful at first, flinching when a customer raised his voice. "You okay?" his manager asked one day. "Yeah," Malik said, then corrected himself. "I will be." Jamal showed up at the apartment one afternoon, hands shoved in his pockets. "I messed up," he said. Malik studied him. "You stayed quiet." Jamal nodded. "I was scared." "So was I," Malik replied. He stepped aside. "Come in." They sat at the table, awkward and familiar. It wasn't forgiveness all at once. It was something slower. The final wave came quietly. One evening Malik walked past the alley. He hadn't planned to. His route home just bent that way. He stopped at the mouth, heart pounding. The bricks looked the same. The smell lingered. He stood there for a long moment, breathing. A woman walked by and nodded. Car passed. Life continued. Malik turned and kept walking. At home, Denise found him staring out the window again. "You okay?" "Yes," Malik said. And for the first time he meant it a little. On his desk lay a college acceptance letter. Partial scholarship, a chance he hadn't thought possible weeks ago. He picked it up, fingers tracing his name. "This doesn't erase it," he said. "No," Denise replied. "But it moves you forward." The city didn't become just overnight. It argued. It resisted. It relapsed. But something had shifted. Records rewritten, silence broken, a line crossed that couldn't be uncrossed. Malik lay in bed that night, listening to the familiar hum of the apartment. His body still remembered the alley. His mind always would. But now, when he closed his eyes, he didn't hear laughter first. He heard his own voice. Steady. On record. And he knew that consequences, imperfect as they were, had finally arrived. After the sirens faded, the city didn't go quiet, just changed its rhythm. Malik noticed it in small ways. The way patrol cars slowed at intersections instead of rolling through. The way officers kept their hands visible longer during stops. The way people paused before speaking, as if measuring the weight of words they'd once thrown around freely. Change didn't announce itself. Crept. Malik's body kept its own calendar. His knees still stiffened on cold mornings. His ribs ached when rain pressed low over the city. At night, dreams came in fragments, brick walls, flashing lights, laughter without faces. He learned to wake himself before panic could take over, learned the grounding tricks the therapist taught him. Name 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear. "You're not broken," the therapist said gently. "You're injured. There's a difference." Some days Malik believed her. College letters arrived in a thin stack. He opened them slowly, one at a time, hands steady. Rejections first, then waitlist, then one envelope heavier than the others. He read it twice before it made sense. Partial scholarship, social sciences track, conditional on continued grades. Denise covered her mouth, eyes shining. "You did that," she said. "No," Malik replied. "We did." Life filled in the spaces where crisis had lived. He went back to work full-time over the summer. Customers still complained about prices and wait times, but now some recognized him. "You're that kid," a man said one afternoon, not unkindly. "From the news." Malik nodded. "Yeah." The man hesitated. "My son's your age," he said. I've been thinking about things differently." Malik accepted the comment the way he'd learned to accept many things lately. Not as redemption, not as apology, just as movement. At home, Denise kept a box under the bed. Inside were copies of documents, printed screenshots, the folded note that had once threatened them. She didn't open it often. "History matters," she said when Malik asked why she kept it. "Even when it hurts." The oversight board held its first public forum in the fall. Malik went, sitting near the back, hoodie up, listening. People spoke with trembling voices and clenched hands. A man stood and said, "I never thought anyone would listen." Malik felt that sentence settle deep in his chest. Harris attended too, no longer leading but watching, arms folded, eyes alert. When Malik caught his gaze, Harris nodded once. They spoke afterward outside the building. You did more than help one case, Harris said. You shifted leverage. Malik shrugged. It still feels unfinished. It is, Harris agreed. Justice usually is. They stood in companionable silence for a moment. Take care of yourself, Harris added. That's the part people forget. At school, Malik gave a presentation in Ms. Patterson's class. Not about the case, about narrative framing. About who gets to be neutral and who gets labeled. He spoke calmly, hands steady. The room listened. Afterward, a student raised her hand. What do you do when telling the truth costs you friends? Malik thought about Jamal, about the long road back to something like normal. You grieve, he said. And then you decide who you want around you going forward. The city stumbled. A few months after the verdicts, another incident made headlines. Protests returned. Critics called reforms cosmetic. Malik felt the old anger rise, hot and sharp. But this time something was different. The footage was released quickly. The oversight board convened immediately. Officers were removed pending investigation without the old delays. It wasn't enough, but it was something. One evening, Malik and Denise sat on the fire escape, city lights blinking on below them. The air smelled like fall. Do you ever wish you hadn't recorded? Denise asked quietly. Malik thought about the alley, the baton, laughter, the file that changed everything. No, he said. I wish I didn't need to. Denise nodded. Me too. He started writing then. Not for court. Not for school. For himself. Short entries at first. Sensory details. Moments he didn't want to forget or let harden into something else. The way the alley smelled. The sound of Harris's voice on the phone. The weight of the scholarship letter in his hands. One night, he wrote about the silence, the kind that protected harm, and the kind that followed accountability. He wrote until his hand cramped, then kept going. Months later, a community group invited him to speak again. He almost said no. You don't owe anyone, Denise reminded him. I know, Malik said. I just want to. He stood at the podium, older now, posture surer. He didn't recount the beating. He talked about aftermath. Justice isn't a moment, he said. It's a process that asks something from everyone. Silence is also a choice. People clapped. Some cried. Some crossed their arms. Malik stepped down feeling lighter than he expected. On the anniversary of the alley, Malik walked the long way home on purpose. He stopped at the mouth again, heart steady this time. A mural covered the brick now. Faces, names, words painted bold. See you. He touched the wall once, then turned away. At home he packed boxes for college. Denise hovered, offering snacks he didn't need, advice he already knew. You're allowed to be happy, she said, half joking, half serious. I know, Malik replied. I'm learning how. That night, sirens passed in the distance. Routine, not urgent. Malik lay in bed, listening until they faded completely. When the sound disappeared, what remained wasn't fear. It was space. Space to breathe. Space to imagine. Space to keep going. The city would argue and fail and argue again. Systems would resist and bend and resist again. But a record existed now. Clear, undeniable, spoken in a voice that refused to vanish. After the sirens faded, Malik closed his eyes. And for the first time, the future didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a question he was finally allowed to answer.